It's been a hectic day, and I am so looking forward to sharing some thoughtful time with you. This is actually these sorts of things, these lives, as crazy as they make me, this is my happy place. I love connecting with you all. I love talking about all of this stuff, and I love taking a few moments and drinking my tea and having my phone on do not disturb. So, mm, hello, Cobalt. Always a pleasure. Good to see you. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. Go ahead and let's get started. Did everyone have a good holiday? Um, I don't really celebrate Thanksgiving because of all the socio-political bullshit that goes with it. But I did get together with friends and we did eat and we did spend time appreciating each other. So there is that. Cobalt asks, how the baked mac and cheese turned out. It turned out fabulously, and even more fabulous because I didn't make it. My partner made it this time. So I made a cranberry curd and white chocolate tart, which also turned out fantastically. So, okay, without any further ado, let me go ahead and get the introduction going. Hello, Sabyasachi, so we can get started today. Hello to everyone. Those of you who know me, those of you who don't know me, I'm Heather. Most of my friends and business associates call me Nookie or Miss Nookie. I have lived a wild and wondrous personal life, and I'm so thankful for that. I write books, I teach classes, I run workshops, and I go live, just like this, um, talking about love, sex, romance, and of course, kink for people of all genders, relationship statuses, orientations, and more. I cannot remember a time when I was not like super curious and adventurous when it comes to how people relate and sex, frankly. And I'm lucky that I have mostly had partners who have been the same. So I've had the opportunity to explore many facets of human relations in loving and creative ways in different areas of the country and around the world. And as most of you know, right now I'm on a huge boundaries kick. And all of my experiences in life thus far have led me to the belief that boundaries are the key to not only saving ourselves, but our relationships. Boundaries are what take us from getting by or merely average to healthy, loving, strong, and fan fucking tastic. So let's get started. As usual, I will kick us off with an introduction. Hold on. Why did it do that? Ooh, escape. I accidentally made myself full screen there. Woo-hoo. I will start off with introduction to the Boundaries book that I'm working on. And then we'll get into things. So, for those of you who aren't yet aware, I am writing my new book, working title, Boundaries Are Sexy as Fuck, right now. And you can get access to the chapters as I write and post them by registering for right here, use this link right here, my Take No Shit workshop, which is currently underway. It is a 7-week is how I started it. I think now we're going to call it a 7-module workshop because there's definitely, for some people, it's going to be more than 7 weeks. For other people, they might speed right through it. So I definitely want people, including you, to understand this is at your own pace. But anyway, this is the link right here. It is, let's say, 7 weeks. And right now, the price is $47, but you can get it for as low as $27 because it is a name your own price. And that makes it, what, $4 a week? So $4 a week, not so bad, especially because you get lifetime access. So you could take a year and really dig down into this and really work with all the resources and so on and so forth. And the price will eventually be $197. So it originally started out between 7 and 27. Now it is 27 up to whatever you're willing to pay. And it will eventually be going up to 197. So now is a great time to get in, because right now I am building it and working with y'all like intimately to make this the best boundaries workshop it could ever be. Cobalt is always a great cheerleader here. Reminder, hey, let's hit that like button and show our support for such wonderful life-changing content. Thank you. I forget these things. I am a terrible self-promoter. So thank you for that reminder, because I would forget. Yeah. Anyway, so today, we are talking about, hello, Jan, lovely to see you. Hello, Kiba, always a pleasure. Today we are talking about one of the shortest and most harmful phrases we utter when it comes to our boundaries. Yeah, it's okay. Because, I mean, that's what we've been taught, right? Is to make everything okay, even when it's most definitely not okay, right? Yeah. So we're going to talk about this. It's okay. As I've said, it is one of the most damaging phrases to boundaries ever invented. The harm that these two words, or frankly, any variation thereof, have allowed people to do to themselves and their relationships cannot be overstated, right? In the book I'm working on, I have a chapter called Lies and Lying. And I talk about how lies damage boundaries from inside and out, even little white lies. And also, a little bit later this week, I actually start a project that I do every year called Kinkmas. And in this, I'm going to be doing one episode specifically about lies and lying. Let me see if I can find that for you so I can also let you know when that's going to be coming, because I will be sharing that as well. Let's see. If you have an interest in lies and lying, I think that's actually going to be, so Saturday at noon, this coming Saturday at noon Eastern, when, not if, they lie. Lies and lying in relationships, why it happens, what to do about it, and how to still live a life full of love and trust. So, for those of you who are concerned about lies, but lies damage boundaries from inside and out, even little white lies. And it's okay is one of the most powerful and harmful little white lies ever. So, show of hands, real quick. How many times have you said it's okay when it actually wasn't? How many of you have done that? And how many of you have done it like a lot of times in your life? It's okay. But it really wasn't, right? It wasn't okay. Hey, Cucky, good to see you. Oh, this is a good conversation. So Jan just said, if someone says they have no boundaries, run. I do agree that is definitely what I would consider a yellow flag. It's something to be concerned about. Cobalt makes a good point. Jan, if your boundaries are clear enough, you don't have to run. That's pretty key, right? If your boundaries are solid, you can stick around and see how things go. So I agree with that. However, just because you have solid boundaries doesn't mean that you should be doing the white knighting thing. So let's be aware of our propensity towards trying to save people from from themselves, because that in and of itself is a boundary, and sometimes we don't recognize it. So very, very important there. Cobalt says, I've been known to go out of my way to protect others from even knowing that they hurt me. So I think that counts. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, no, no. I'll be fine. It's not that big a deal. It's okay. Oh, it's just a little thing. You know, anything that minimizes harm or damage, right? I think we've pretty much all done that at one point or another. So it's not good for you to do that, right? It's not healthy for you to do that. It wasn't wanted. And when we do that, when we say it's okay, when it's not, slowly by slowly, we give pieces of ourselves away. In relationships, we teach people how to treat us, right? And when we say it's okay, we're teaching them that that's one of the ways they can treat us. And that's what I mean when I say piece after piece of us disappears. Because as soon as we give somebody permission to treat us in a way that is not ideal, we are sublimating ourselves. We are giving ourselves up in favor of them. We're giving up pieces of ourself. So, personally, if I were to try counting how many times I've said, it's okay, when it actually wasn't in my life, I'm not sure I could have counted high enough to answer that question when I started my boundaries journey, right? A Google, maybe, which I think is like 1 with 100 zeros after it. It's a big number. Regardless of hyperbole, I did it far more than was good for me. And you've probably done it far more than is good for you, right? But I didn't know any better. And you probably didn't either. Because you've been socialized to be gracious, to be kind, and to forgive. Right? So you do. But it's to your detriment and to the detriment of building authentic relationships and connections with others. Think about that for a minute. I'm going to catch up on the chat here. Cobalt says, I've been known to go out of my way to protect others from even knowing that they hurt me, so I think that counts. And then said, of course, you can certainly choose to walk away. Kiba asked, Cobalt, do you ever get resentful towards others? At which Cobalt was still typing and says, it builds up resentment, which can blow up under pressure. Yeah. So that's the thing, right? When we say something's okay, and it's definitely not okay, we're harming ourselves because we're putting things under pressure. We're harming our potential relationships because even though it's meant well, it's still a lie, right? So we are lying within our relationships. And we are creating an atmosphere of allowing and condoning behavior and treatment we don't want, right? That doesn't fill us up, that doesn't serve us or the relationship, right? Hey, Celine, good to see you. So that's kind of a big deal. So let's turn this around, right? Have you ever been told, it's okay? I know you have, right? It's okay. And you believed it. And then you found out later that it was most definitely not okay, right? Maybe like something you did was forgiven. Then you found out that they were still holding on to it, right? Like it spilled out during an argument or resentment boiled over during a normal day. So let me ask you this. How did it feel to be on that side of it? Hmm? To know that someone you cared about was still hurting over something you thought was okay, right? Now, if you're anything like me, it probably hurt you that they didn't tell you. It probably angered you a bit because you were given false information and you acted on that information, right? You probably wish you'd had the truth, no matter how much it might have hurt, right? And as Cobalt says, it's anxiety inducing, even more so because now your communication with that person moving forward, you don't know whether to believe them, especially if they say something is okay or they say something positive, right? It then becomes easier and easier and easier to believe their negative remarks, but not their positive ones. And that is a huge issue in a relationship, right? Spirit safe. I've been very much struggling releasing people who do things that are not okay. I have folks keep saying to dump people, but even though I know my limits, I also value the relationships too much to let go. Okay, so that is a good point, and I think a lot of people get to that situation. So my questions to you would be, what about a relationship, any relationship, what about this relationship do you value? And do you believe that you can have that part of the relationship, the part that you value, and still maintain healthy boundaries? Can you step away from the parts of the relationships that are not serving you well, that are not positive to you? That's the question. Because if not, then I would have to ask, when you value the relationship, does it provide you far more positive? Does it fill you up far more than it drains you to deal with the boundary violations and the things that aren't so good? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. I would personally never tell you, leave this person. I would suggest that you ask yourself these questions and that you answer them as honestly as possible to yourself, and that you continue asking those questions because over time they might change, right? Kiba says, I fell into trying to mind read for a while, but that's exhausting. Oof, yeah. Now I'll take it's fine at face value, but with the awareness that that might not be true. So I can be more compassionate when they finally do talk. Absolutely. And I think that that's a key. I think that there's um, it's okay. And you move forward thinking it's actually okay. And then there's, I'm fine, nothing's wrong. And you say, okay, I'm going to take your word for this because I trust you and I believe you would tell me if something's wrong. And if there is anything that you need to talk to me about anytime, just let me know. right? Because I think that the balance of trusting the people you spend time with, loving them, and honoring their consent to their emotional state is important, while also understanding that sometimes they're not going to be ready to talk about it right that moment. And so trying to make sure they know the doors are always going to be open for that, right? I also do my best to say, instead of "it's fine," "no, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet." Exactly. Or "no, but it has nothing to do with you. And I'd love it if you'd spend time cheering me up instead of us talking about this." Right? That's a big thing. Or "I'm not sure how I feel right now, and I'm not quite ready to talk about it, but I will let you know when I am." Or "I got something going through my head right now and it's driving me insane, but I'd like to go out and watch a movie with you and like have a great evening, and we can set this aside. It's not that big a deal right this moment, but let's get back to it, within the next week or so." Right? And Celine says that takes active work to do. Oh, all of this does, right? Yeah, all of this does. Cobalt says, "I think one thing that pressures us is trying to divide the world into who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. So we think of it as if we are forgiving them, then it proves we are good people." I'd also like to turn that around, because cognitive bias says that if we choose somebody, then we defend that choice. So if we forgive someone, then we're saying they are good people, right? And we are defending our choice. And that may sound kind of goofy, but that is an incredibly powerful force in our lives. It is difficult to examine our choices regularly for flaws, because our brains very, very much want to be right, especially when we've put a lot of time and effort into something. It's pretty critical. Learning to see a conflict as between good people with different needs helps. Absolutely. Learning to see a conflict as positive. Quick show of hands, or just type in the chat, how many of you see conflict in your relationships as positive? How many of you see conflict in your relationships as positive? Kiba says, "Yay." Good. Good. Here's the thing. Without conflict, we don't know what we need to do to change and grow. Right? Kiba says, "Now I used to be petrified." Literally. Yeah. Celine says, "Now I look at it as a notice to pay attention." And Cobalt says, "Not yet. I grok the notion, but it feels scary still." I mean, lots of positive things are scary, right? I mean, getting married. When people get married, it's generally considered a positive thing. They consider it a positive thing. They want to do it. Doesn't mean it's not scary, because you don't know what's going to happen. But conflict in your relationships is the only way that you're going to know that something needs to change or that something isn't working, right? Even if that conflict is something as simple as, ooh, I don't want to do that, right? Okay, right? Kiva says, it took me a while to change how I saw it. The positive reinforcement of conflict being handled better once I was doing it, it just got easier. What did I say about rejection? Practice, practice, practice. When I see a potential for conflict in my relationship, I head right towards it. I face it I face it head on because it's a chance to bring it in the open and to talk about it instead of like pushing it away and letting it fester or build resentment or whatever. And Kiba says, but so scary that first time. I will forever remember that moment. Yeah. And Celine says, same. Absolutely. Absolutely. The first time you head towards conflict, you're running like you've seen it like in those like hero movies where like somebody's like running towards danger and they're like, what the fudge am I doing? Ah, it's kind of like that. You're heading towards conflict and you're going to bring it up and you're going to bring it out into the light. You're like, what am I doing? This is insane. But you do it anyway. And it becomes a part of your life adventure and living your truth and authenticity, right? So let's talk about some examples, right? Something super simple. Person bumps into you at the bar carrying a glass of wine. It spills all over you, staining your new shirt. Oh, no, it's okay. Is it though? Probably not. It will likely stain, right? There's definitely going to be a bill to get the stain lifted at the very least. But in this case, maybe you say it's okay because there's not really anything that can be done about it. And there's no blame to be assigned, right? So many of us would probably, for the sake of keeping the peace, say, it's okay. But when we do that, we're not being honest with ourselves and we're not being honest with other people in this world. And that's not good. So, how about, fudge. Well, I'll have to get this clean. No. There's no fault here. None at all. I don't blame you. It's just an unfortunate event. Which may sound a bit like it's okay, but it's not. It's the truth, right? There's nothing that can be done, and I'm not going to hold it against you, but it's not really okay. I can't afford this kind of cleaning bill, or I can't afford for this shirt to be ruined after just one wearing. But what am I going to do about it? Right? It's honesty. Cobalt just said it acknowledges reality. Yeah. Jan says some conflict to change some things, but constant conflict is bad. Sadly, as a woman, it's been ingrained to fix or compromise in conflict situations. So, absolutely. Constant conflict, to me, the idea that if we look at conflict as a positive point towards this is where growth needs to happen, or this is where change needs to happen, then constant conflict would then point to the fact that there is a lot of change that needs to happen in order to make something work, right? And that sounds like, maybe not worth it to me. Also, I'd like to point out, I agree that generally speaking, femme presenting people are socialized to fix or compromise in conflict situations. However, I'd like to tweak that just a little bit and say that anyone who finds themselves in a position of less relational, social, societal, financial power will be socialized and pressured to fix or compromise, right? So that might be the youngest person in a friend group, right? Regardless of gender. It might be the intern at a business. It might be the person of color in a panel of experts, right? So the socialization to fix or compromise in situations tends to roll downhill. The person at the top, whoever that is generally not the person expected to fix or compromise on things, right? And that's regardless of gender. Gender comes into it because, of course, there are a lot of dynamics when it comes to gender. But let's make sure that we acknowledge that there are power dynamics that aren't gendered as well, and that even add to gender. And those happen in our relationships. So that's important to discuss and to think about and to be aware of, right? If somebody is far more intelligent or far more socially attractive or has more social cachet or power or whatever. So, yeah. Cobalt says, I see it's okay as being like declawing a cat. It leads to biting. Ooh, I like that. I like that, y'all. Pay attention to that one. Because when you declaw a cat, you remove the cat's way of defending itself, right? You remove the cat's truth. And then what does the cat have left? Biting, right? I don't declaw my cats. No. Okay, so here's another one. Let's hide that. Someone calls you miss or ma'am or sir or whatever honorific, right? Maybe even on like a dating site, they write to you and they call you like sweetie or babykins or whatever it is, and they get it wrong. You're like, it's okay, but it made you uncomfortable. So is it okay? No. Is it forgivable? Probably. Especially if they have no reason to know the right form of address, or it seems like an honest mistake. So instead of, it's okay, something like this might work better. I prefer fill in the blank address. Thanks so much for using that moving forward. Right? Now, if they know, or you've had this conversation before, getting a bit more strongly worded each time can help. But saying it's okay when it's not will not help. So I have this little, what do we call it? Macro. It's a text macro, and I'm actually going to type it in here. And I'm going to share it with y'all. And I send this out to people who approach me on sites saying things like, oh goddess, or, oh ma'am, or oh mistress, or whatever it is. And it says, please don't call me fill in the blank. I don't own you, so I prefer not to be titled by you. Please call me Nookie or Miss Nookie if you must use an honorific. Thank you. I literally had to type in the letters DCM for don't call me. And that pops up, and all I have to do is fill in that blank. And there you go, right? Super, super simple. We tend to think of stressful moments like that as being harmless, but stress causes deadly illnesses. So microaggressions are harm. Oh, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. How about, we're going to get a little more emotionally charged here. How about you're in an argument with a partner and they call you a name or use an invective of some sort that hurts you deeply, perhaps even triggers a negative spiral for you, right? And they say, I'm sorry. And you say, it's okay. How's that feel to y'all? You ever had that experience? Somebody does something, they're like, I'm sorry. And you're like, it's okay. Mm. You've probably said that far, far too soon for two reasons. One, you're still hurt. Two, you need a different type of apology, right? So let's look into those a little bit more deeply, right? You're still hurt. It's not okay. You still hurt about it. When you give the okay too soon, it's much harder to actually express that hurt, which means that you won't be able to talk it through, discuss the pain, and how to avoid it. And I'm not saying at all that you should hold a grudge forever, because that's a really freaking bad idea. And it also suggests that you're not dealing with something that needs to be dealt with. Trying to set those things aside too quickly will cripple the authenticity of your relationship. You'll bottle it up before you've even fully processed it. So it won't get better. You've made it okay to hurt you and to say two words, I'm sorry, to get off the hook or whatever. And your partner probably also doesn't actually realize just how much they've harmed you, and therefore can't decide to continue trying to understand, to make it better, or to work at not doing that again. And you don't get the benefit of saying something to them and then watching them try to understand you and try to make it better and work at not doing that again, right? You're not giving them that chance. And you're not learning that they're not going to take that chance if you give it to them. And so you put that off, that particular bit of learning, you put that off over and over and over again until you get to something really huge and your heart gets broken and shattered into a million gazillion pieces. Better to find out with the teeny tiny things, right? The smaller things. Kiba says that's a recipe for resentment. Heck yeah. Aaron says they need to understand why it hurt you. Celine says, I used to say it's okay. Now I tell them that it hurt and I need to take a step back and then we can talk. Yeah. Cobalt says, Sunday, my bestie said something that triggered me. I had to tell him to get the fuck out. GTFO, and followed up talking about why he thought it was okay to kick my inner puppy. But respecting my need for space to calm down, we could work it out quickly. There you go. So let's talk about apologies. Because when you say it's okay, you've either just accepted their apology or maybe you're this person. You say okay before the apology even comes, right? You're trampling all over your own boundaries and emotions and feelings before anybody else can. Bump. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Right? Yeah. So, did you know that people process apologies in different ways? Yeah. So, there are different apology languages, just like there are different languages of power and different languages of love. There are different apology languages. So, expressing regret, accepting responsibility, making restitution, showing effort, and requesting forgiveness. So, in different situations, different types of behavior, you might need one type more than another. Or you might find yourself that you are the type of person who needs exactly the same thing every time. I tend to vary myself. One type of apology is not enough for me. In the sense that one type of apology will not always work. Sometimes I need different types of apologies. Sometimes I need multiple types of apologies from the same person for the same offense, right? So let's talk about these. Expressing regret. What is expressing regret? I'm sorry. That's expressing regret light. Like that's the alpha version of expressing regret. It's what we've been taught over years, socialized is the best way to get out of everything. But it doesn't really mean anything, does it? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. For what? Are you sorry you hurt me? Are you sorry you got caught? Are you sorry that you have to stand here and listen to me bitch at you right now? What are you sorry for? What are you regretful of right this moment? Please do tell. Right? Saying something more like, I'm sorry that I hurt you. I lost my temper and I used a word that's harmed you in the past is expressing regret. It focuses on details and what actually happened. It's not vague and it's not spoken by rote, right? So I have this little story. Someone once said to me, I'm sorry I've been such a bitch to you. I was like, I almost laughed out loud. Like I literally had to control myself because how was I supposed to parse that? Like I had numerous examples in my mind that could apply to, but which did they mean? Or maybe like, and here's the weirdest part, maybe they meant none of them and they were thinking about something I hadn't really taken offense to at all. So I'm sorry I've been such a bitch to you, left us no better off, right? Getting specific in details. What are you sorry about? What do you regret? It's still just words, right? But words that show an understanding of the issue and convey regret over it. And I will tell you this, for me, when I'm in a row with somebody, knowing that they understand why I'm upset is like 95% of what I'm looking for. Because if they understand why I'm upset, then their behavior after that is informative to me. Because sometimes I can perfectly understand why somebody's upset. Like I can literally like say to them, I understand that you're upset about, and they say yes. And I say, and yet that's for me to decide. And I'm going to continue deciding that for myself. So you are going to need to make your own decisions, right? That's valid. That's authentic. And that means a lot more to me than I'm sorry, right? Kiva says, I still apologize to inanimate objects sometimes when I'm distracted. So there's a woman I know who teaches high school psychology and history, and she's working with some very, very young children. Like during the summers, she does like, daycare stuff and so on and so forth. And she knows this young girl, and she says, I am teaching her that we say, I'm sorry when we actually hurt someone. Otherwise, it's pardon me. And I had to pause and think about that. Pardon me. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't know if that resonates with you, but I thought I'd throw that out there for those of you who might have that issue of like apologizing for everything. Yeah. The non-apology, I'm sorry you feel that way. I am so sorry you feel that way. Whew. Yeah, not much of an apology though. You're right. That's possibly the sorriest sorry to sorry. Okay, now we're getting a little silly here. Yes, being understood for me is huge, Celine says. It's like that in Japanese too. Gomen nasai versus sumimasen. I don't speak Japanese. But if you'd like to explain that further, that would be nice. Okay. Accepting responsibility. Saying I was wrong is accepting responsibility. Of course, just like with apologizing or expressing regret, it's better to be more specific. I was wrong for using a word that I knew would hurt you because I was upset and I was lashing out. Some accepting responsibility base options include I was wrong about. I shouldn't have done when I fill in the blank did this thing. I wasn't thinking and I should have known better. I have no excuse for, right? For some people, if they don't acknowledge that what they did was wrong, not just that they regret it, then it's not really an apology. And sometimes this will not be possible, which is also important. For example, when you set a boundary for yourself and somebody else takes hurt from it, you're not wrong for setting that boundary. You can express regret that you hurt them, but to say that you are wrong won't happen honestly. So the best you can do is take responsibility. I take full responsibility for the pain that you're feeling right now. You have every right to be angry at me for. You are 100% valid for being upset with me right now. It's a wonderful thing to be able to acknowledge that people can be hurt when we do something that is our right to do and to still hold on to our boundaries. Right? Let's talk about making restitution. Saying, how can I fix this? And then following through is restitution. For some people, words are not enough. Offering to make things right, then actually taking steps is needed. How can I fix this? How can I make this up to you? I know I've hurt you, and I'd like to make it up to you. Is there anything I can do to make this right? Being asked these questions and answering, it's okay, will leave you right back where you were. Maybe further back because you'll have rebuffed someone's sincere attempt to set things right. So even if it's something small, like give me a big, tight hug for 20 seconds. A response when somebody asks you, how can I make this up to you, is a good faith gesture to others. Right? And sometimes a good, tight hug is what you need. Right? Cobalt says, pronounce gomenasai is I'm sorry in polite way. Sumimasen is excuse me. Oh, well, see, there you go. Learning something new every day. I don't think I'll ever be really good at Japanese. I'm not even really good at French and Russian, and I took 5 years of French and 3 years of Russian. But I can say vite, vite, par le train, hurry, hurry, there's to the train, and moja lubov, skazita menia, kakoi u tebi znak zodiaka, which is my love, please tell me what's your zodiac sign. So, you know, I'll get by. Showing effort. Let's talk about what it means to show effort as part of an apology. Saying, I feel bad about what happened. Can we talk about it and share ideas on how to avoid it in the future? Is showing effort, or the start of it anyway. So, can we put together a plan that will help me in the future? Is there a word you can use to signal me and let me know if I forget again? I'll do my best to not only not repeat that pattern, but to let you know that I recognize it when it starts. And will you work with me on calling me out? And so on. Because we've all been there. They say, I'm sorry. They offer regret. And then they do it again. Without showing effort, it's like, okay, so here you are doing it again. Sorry isn't enough at that point. For some people, I'm sorry is never enough. Effort is where a true apology begins for them. Right? Do you like effort? I mean, I tell people that you're not going to always get it right, but effort matters. Showing that you're trying to get it right. absolutely matters. My hair. I think that's going to be my biggest pet peeve on video. I constantly play with my hair because it drives me crazy. Yeah. Hello, Shan. This is not the topic to discuss that. You are welcome to reach out to me directly in another format, and I will be happy to talk with you about that. But today we're talking about boundaries and relationships and apologies. So, the fifth form of apology, requesting forgiveness. Saying, "Will you forgive me?" is requesting forgiveness. For some people, saying, "I'm sorry," is asking for forgiveness, but for others, it needs to be more explicit. Will you forgive me? I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. I'd love to move forward. What can I do to earn forgiveness? Do you think we can move past this? If so, how? For some people, this is going to seem like overkill. For others, though, asking for forgiveness is required for an apology to be complete. Okay. So, oh, wait, here's a good one. Or regret and self-flagellation demanding you now caretake their feelings. 100%. So sometimes when you require more of an apology, people will start to get frustrated. And then they will try to turn it around and saying, you are being unreasonable for not getting over it, and how hurt they are that you're not accepting their apology. And they're trying to make you caretake their feelings and lower your boundaries all in one fell swoop. And you know what? They are you, because we have all done that shit. Every single one of us. Every one of us has done that. Every one of us has gotten to the point in a conversation where we're trying to apologize and we're frustrated, and then we like turn it around and say, you don't have this right, and try to make ourselves the center of attention and try to overcome whatever it is they're doing. We've all done it. And I'm not pointing fingers. But what I'm actually not doing is I'm not casting blame, right? Because again, this is a manipulation we learned from others. It works. And we don't think about the harm that it does. We just think about getting out of that situation, ending that conversation, not feeling so awful. And if we can get angry at them, then maybe we're not going to feel as angry or mad about ourselves, right? My ex-husband and I, when we got in a bit of a tiff, like we'd be like, right? And then we'd see somebody else being a jerk, like if we're in the car and somebody cuts them off, and then all of a sudden, instead of it would be this. Did you see that? Did you see that? Right? Getting ourselves out of the discomfort and turning it elsewhere. We learned how to do that, right? No blame. Like I like to say, I don't blame you for any of this. It is your responsibility now to change it. And in this case, not accept it from others, right? Celine says, that dang merry-go-round that feels like it will never end. Ooh, I hear you, sister. I do. So the upshot of this today is stop saying yes and okay when you should be saying, no thanks, and fuck all the way off, right? Be honest, which could sound both obvious and probably a bit threatening all at the same time. Be honest. I'm not quite over this. I still have processing to do to sort out my feelings. I'll get back to you. Saying sorry isn't going to make this better. Giving me a hug and promising me that you'll try very hard to never do this again will go a long way, though. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be upset about this for a while. Some wounds just take longer to heal. Taking steps to make sure it doesn't happen again and really putting in effort means a lot to me, though. The challenge is that this is a sort of boundary setting on its own. And like any other, it can feel to others like rejection. It's sometimes much easier to let things go in the moment. And you'll do it. I promise. Out of habit, if nothing else. But you can walk that back anytime. Hey, I've been thinking about what happened yesterday, and I know I said it's okay, but I realized I'm not quite as okay as I thought. Could we talk a bit more about it? Last week, I said I forgave you, and I really, really wanted to forgive you. I'm honestly not quite there yet. Could we discuss what it will take to avoid that in the future? And so on. Or even, I've been thinking about what you said, and I know that I said it was no big deal. After some serious thought, though, I'd like to cordially invite you to fuck right off. Right? That may be a bit extreme, but sometimes extreme is the way to go. Especially with people who see your boundary setting as a challenge to overcome. If you say, don't call me on Saturday, and they honor it for 1 or 2 weekends, and then they'll call you on Saturday, oh, I forgot, they'll say. Maybe they did. Maybe they just don't care. Maybe they lied to begin with and they had no important reason to call you on those other Saturdays. It's hard to tell when they're telling the truth or when they're lying, right? You could waste a lot of time trying to figure out, were they lying to me? And remember, Saturday at noon Eastern, right here, same bad time, same bad channel, I'm going to be talking about when they lie. Lies and lying in relationships. But here's the thing. Were they lying this time? Who cares? Seriously, who cares? Who has time for that? You either feel good about their apology, effort, improvement, or you don't, and you honor your boundaries. Because whether they're lying or they're simply uncaring or incapable of change, the harm to you is what matters most to you and your decision making. Are you with me on this? And it's okay is not the answer until and unless it really, really is. Cobalt says, oh, wait, Saturday or Thursday? So Thursday is a regular boundaries Q&A, and that's going to be the 4 stages of boundary setting. Saturday, I'm doing the 12 days of Kinkmas, and at noon, I will be talking about lies and lying and when people lie in relationships and all those things that go along with it. So think of that as like a bonus boundaries, lies sort of thing. Yeah. Chris says, I always implement on people that short, detailed answers go a long way. Simple, short words have strong impact to fix things. Cobalt says, I'm learning how to forgive myself even if someone isn't ready or willing to forgive me. That's pretty key. Yeah. Aaron says, expressing regret, accepting responsibility, making restitution, showing effort, requesting forgiveness. Let's see. Now that you asked that, I'm like, oh, what was it? I think you got it all, actually. Let me go up here. Let me just double check my own list. Expressing regret, accepting responsibility, making restitution, showing effort, requesting forgiveness. There you go. You got it. Adding more. Giving short words, answers have no impact to fix something. It's like giving enough, but not much to make things clear and direct. Yeah. So, any additional questions on it's okay? It was most definitely not okay. And boundaries. And while we're talking about that, let me just remind you. So the 4 stages of boundary setting is coming up on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. The 4 stages of boundary setting. And for those of you who do follow me in my kinky channels, Thursday is actually the start of Kinkmas at 9 a.m. I'll be doing non-monogamy, the single most important piece of advice I've ever received and how to implement it. And that will be on my kinky channels. It will not be on the Curiouser channel. So be aware of that. And then from December 1st through December 8th, there will be 1 or 2 Kinkmas presentations that everyone voted on what you want me to present for Kinkmas. And I'll be doing 12 of those over that 8-day period. So very exciting. Real quick, let me yak about my book again. Yeah. There we go. So thank you, of course, to every single one of you for joining me today. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning or who came in late and don't know me, hi, I'm Nookie, or Heather Claus, and I am currently writing my next book, working title, Boundaries Are Sexy as Fuck, live. You can join me with this link right here by registering for the Take No Shit workshop, which is going on right now. You can follow that at your own pace. It is all about boundary setting. What I like to say is that the book is a deep dive into everything boundaries. Like, we are digging in to boundaries and what they are and what they mean and so on and so forth. Whereas Take No Shit is like, that's the workshop where you say, I need better boundaries and I need to set them now. I can't read everything. I just need to set better boundaries. And that's what the Take No Shit workshop is. It is step by step. Let's set these better boundaries. Let's get them in place. Let's practice them together. Let's work on them. Let's support each other. And then if you want to also follow along in the boundaries book, you can do that. So, real quick, let's see, what's coming up. As I said, Thursday, the next boundaries talk is the 4 stages of boundary setting. You're going to fuck things up. Here are the 4 stages of learning and mastery, and how to recognize when you're actually making progress and appreciate that progress. Then next Tuesday is Let's Make a Pact, communicating boundaries effectively. We just had a really interesting, well, we're having a really interesting discussion about communicating boundaries and ultimatums in the forum for the Boundaries Live Right. I had a fascinating conversation on Facebook about ultimatums and boundaries and is it or isn't it, and how people can take things and so on and so forth. So again, if you join the workshop, you'll have access to that discussion. I'll be doing more of those types of discussions in there as well. And then the following Thursday, this will be the last one before the 12th, which is the day I have my first surgery in December, is going to be Start with No. And then from December 12th on, I'm not sure if I'm going to do lives like this until mid-January. I might. Apparently, the surgeries that I'm getting, some people recover very quickly and can do things like this, and some people take quite a long time to be able to sort of like get back to any sense of normalcy. So I'm not making any promises, but if you keep an eye on where you normally follow me and find me and so on and so forth, you will see the notifications for live pop up if I'm able to do them. And I hope I am, because like I said at the beginning of this is like happy place. I love, presenting and talking with y'all and getting your feedback and thoughts on boundaries, your questions, your experiences, and so on and so forth. So like I said, I'm just not absolutely sure that I'm going to be up for it. So I don't know. We will see. But if I am, rest assured, I will not run out of topics to chat about. So thank you. Thank you all for joining me today. I always appreciate it. And really, you know what else I appreciate? I appreciate the fact that you're willing to take this time for yourself. Not just that you spend it with me. I mean, although that's incredibly honoring. So thank you for that. But the fact that you're willing to take time and spend it on yourself and finding ways to make your own life better and more fulfilling and to live more authentically. So thank you for that, every single one of you. Have a most wonderful day, and hopefully I'll see you next time around.